Hello, everyone. I'm Bilal Jarwan, a senior software development engineer and test. I'm from Amman, Jordan. And today we will talk about the test automation framework and how you can build your automation framework from scratch and how you can build your test cases and run it using Java language and using some libraries like TestNG, automation framework, and to use Selenium in our test. First of all, we can start with what is the test automation framework. The test automation framework, it's a set of rules and corresponding tools are used for building the test cases. And you can get a lot of benefits when you use and start automating your test cases for your product. And the benefits that you get, you can reduce the cost for your work and you can improve the test efficiency. So there is no human error, you will see. And you can get a lot lower cost for the maintenance, and you can maximize the test cases coverage. And for sure, when you are using the test automation framework, there is no errors from the human, so you can make sure that every time your test automation, your test cases is working correctly. Okay, what if we don't follow the best practices when you build your automation framework? All of the benefits that we're talking about in the previous slides, you will not get any one of them. So you need to follow the best practices when you build your automation framework to get the benefits that we're talking about. And the best practices are follow dry principle. Dry principle is don't repeat yourself. So you need to write the code one time and reuse it in a different classes, and this will help you to make sure that your code is maintainable. So when you use dry principle, you will write less code and less maintenance. File and folder structure. When you build your automation framework, make sure that you do a good structure for your project. And this will help you to fast debugging. So if you are writing all of the code in 2-3 classes, you will have a lot of issues to follow and debug your issues that you have in the future. And naming conventions. Make sure that you are naming the classes, methods, and everything in your framework to be a good naming. That will help you to make your project more readable. And this will help your colleagues that's working with you to read your code, to read the classes, and know the business and the business flow for each class and each method that we wrote. And keep your code simple. When you keep your code simple, that will be easy to follow. So anyone will complete your work. You will find this easy to follow and easy to continue work on the framework that you have. So if you are following these best practices, you will get the benefits that we took in the first slide. When you build your automation framework, you need to follow structure. And in our case here, we are building a Gradle automation project using build tool called Gradle. And the libraries for the automation, it's called Selenium. And we are using the automation framework called TestNG. And the structure of our automation framework will have 2 source folders. The first one is source main Java. Under the source main Java, you need to create some packages. And in each package, you will have list of classes. The first package will be the screens. So if you are working on one of the websites, you need to create the screens that you are working on. So every single screen will have 2 classes. And then you need to create the package for utils. And the package utils will have some classes, and these classes will be shared between all the components that we have in our automation project. In the screens, you need to create 2 classes. The first one is screen locator. And in the screen locator class, you need to define all the locators that you have in the screen that you are working on. For example, the login page, you need to declare all the locators that you have in the login page in this class. And the second class will be the screen functionality. And in this class, just you will mention the functionality that you are working on and just to call the locators, and then you can execute your functionality on. Like, I want to click on the login button, or I want to fill the text field for the username or the password. The utils package will have 2 classes. The first one, all screens handler class. And in this class, we will just call all the objects from the screen functionalities. And the second one will be the base class. In the base class, we just have annotations to manage our test process. So before each method, we need to do some stuff like creation, the browser, and quit from the browser after each test. The second source folder will be called source test Java. And in this source folder, we will have one package we'll call tests. Under this package, we will have classes for the tests. And this test classes will be for each screen. Test class will be calling the functionality that we have in the screen functionality class, and then we will assert the results for each action that we are doing. So one of the examples, we need to log into the system. So we are sending the username to the username text field, and then sending the password for the password text field, click on the login, and then we need to assert if we are logged in successfully or not. And now we will move to open IntelliJ IDEA and start creation our automation framework from scratch by using one of the websites that's called Sozdaem. Okay, so in this website, we will try to log in with one of the users' name that we have in the left side, and we will use the password in the right side and click on the login to try to log into the system and see if we are logged in successfully or not. This is our automation framework, and I suppose the people who got the laptop clone it from GitHub or download it from GitHub and open it on the IntelliJ. So you will have the structure that we're talking about, the source folders, source main Java, source test Java. And we have another source folders like the resources. We have a resources for main Java, and we have a resources for test. The resources for test, for example, we can add the test files like the XMLs in the test.ng. And for the source main resources, we can have the config files, properties files, and so on. And these files contains maybe the credentials for DB, credentials for the system, and so on. So you can have your credentials under the resources source folder. Okay, so first of all, we need to create the packages under each source folder. The first one will be the screens package in the source main Java. And we will name it com.sqa.screens. In this package, we will create our classes, and the first class will be the screen locator. And in our example here we are working in the login page. So we will say login screen locators. So right click, new Java class, login screen locators. And then you can create your functionality. But before that, let's finish adding the locators for the login page. Backing to website and right click on the username, we can see this is the login text field and the password text field and the login button. And you can get the ID from the elements tab. Okay, so we have here the username. This is the ID. So we can copy it, and then inside the class, we can say at find by, and using the locator strategy will be the ID and the value of its user dash name. And we can name it now web element. And what is the name of this? It's username. So you need to say username text field. The second element will be the password, and the same steps. Just right click on the password, inspect, and check ID. Yes. The best locator strategy, by the way, it's the ID, because it's unique for each element. Find by, ID, and then web element, password, text, field. Okay, the third one is the login button, and just inspect. This is the ID. You can say at find by, ID, element, login button. Okay, so now if we need to call these elements from the screen functionality class, we need to create methods to get all of these elements. So how we can create the methods? Public mobile elements, web element, get username text field. And now we can say return username text field. And you can create all the methods like this.
1 second, folks. I can see that not all of you who have laptops are actually coding with the Bilal, but we highly recommend you to write line by line code with Bilal, since at the second part of the workshop, there will be task for you. So please do not just sit and listen. If you have a laptop, open it, clone the repo, and do it line by line with Bilal, okay? So at the second part, you will have to do you will have to do a home task, and it is mandatory to write a code now. Kind of. Okay, Bilal.
Thank you.
Continue.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we can create another method for the other elements, like the same step, and we can say public web element get password text field, and you can say return password text field. Okay, if I want to create all these methods, I will take a lot of time to create a method for each element. So there is a shortcut to create to generate a getter method for all the elements that we have. So let's see how we can do that in IntelliJ. I will remove all these, and just by right click and generate getter, and you can select all of the elements from the IntelliJ, and by press on OK, you will see that we have all the methods to get all the elements. So by using this shortcut, you will not write a lot of code, but you can generate the getter methods using this shortcut. And in this step, we have all of the elements in the screen locator class. Now we will move to the other class in the screens package, and it's called login screen only. So have class login screen. And in this class, we will create constructor, and in this constructor, we will get the locators from the login screen locator, and we will get the web driver that we are working on. Okay, so first of all, what we need to do, we will say public login screen. So if you want to work on the login screen, and you need to get the locators from the login screen locator, you need to call page factory dot initiate elements, and you need to send two parameters there. The first one, the driver that you are working on, and the second one, the screen locator that you are working on. So if we back to the constructor, we need to receive web driver, and it's called driver, and we need to receive login screen locators, and this is the object from this. And we need just to send it driver and login screen locators. New one, by the way. Sorry, can remove this. Okay. So now in this, let me just minimize it. That would be great. Okay. So in the constructor, we are receiving the driver, and the second thing, we are receiving the login screen locators. So now we can initialize the elements that we have in the login screen locators and working on it on this class. But let's say I want to fill public void fill user name, and I will send it as a parameter username name. What if I want to get the username text field from the screen locator class? I cannot, because the object from the login screen locator class is on the constructor level. How we can make it on the class level? Simply, you need to create an empty object, and this object will be login screen locators, login screen locators. This object is empty. How we can fill it? Once we are going to the constructor, we need to fill the value that we are getting in this one on the level, on the class level. So we will say this dot login screen locators equal login screen locators. And you can see a difference between these login screen locators with this. This one in the right side, it's coming on the constructor and have a value, but in the left one, not have a value. So how we can fill it? Using the login screen locators that we are getting on the constructor level and fill it on this one. Now we can call it in the fill username text field. So we can say login screen locators dot get username text field dot send keys, and this keys will be the username that we received from the test class. Okay, the second method will be to fill the password. So we can say public void fill password text field, and for sure you will string password. You will receive string password. And now login screen locators dot get password text field dot send keys password. The third step will be to click on the login button, and we will create another method that will be called public void click on login button, and we will get login dot click. Okay, now we can call all of these methods in the test class, but is it a best practice to call method by method, or we need to create a composite method? What do you think? To call one by one, or we can composite all these methods in one method and just passing the username and the password will be better. Why we are doing that? Because we are creating for each methodology, for each method, for each step method. And why we doing that? Because sometimes I need to fill the username only and want to check if I can log in or not. I want to fill the password only, and I want to check if I can log in or not. And I want to fill the username and the password without clicking on the login. So I need all these methods, and I need to create a method to composite all these methods together. So how we can do that? I will create public void login to system. And I will receive two parameters. The first one for the username and the second one for the password. And I will pass two parameters to the methods that we create. So I will say string username and string password. And now I can call the fill username method, fill password method, and click on login button. So I will say fill username, and I will send the username, and fill password, and I will send password, and click on login button. Now I have a method. This method will contains three methods that we create: fill username, fill password, and click on login button. And this will lead us to the next page or the next screen in our system. Okay, so now we are finishing the login screen and the login screen locators. What is the next step will be? The next step, creating a package, and this package will be called com.sqa.utils. And in this package we have two classes. The first one called allScreensHandler. The second one will be base class. So now we will go to create under the SQA a new package, and you can see it's autofill com.sqa. So just you need to say utils, and in this package you will have two classes. Let's start with first one. It will be the base class. Okay, the base class will be, as we said, have some annotations, and these annotations just to manage the test process. And the test process will be like before each method what we are doing, and after each method what we need to do. And for sure we need to declare our web driver. So in the base class we have our web driver, and we can then call it in the screens. So first we will say public static web driver, and then we will say add before method. And as you see here, there is an error. How we can solve it? Just by adding the testng to class path. We have a testng library. It exists on the build.gradle file, and just we can add it to the path. And after just building the Gradle, you will see that it's automatically imported. As you see, it's imported on the line number 4. It's imported before method, and we will create a method that will be called public void before method. In this class, in this method, we will initialize our web driver, and then we will go to like creation our web driver and the type of the web driver, and visit the website that we are working on. So we will say driver equal new Chrome driver, and then we will say driver dot manage dot window dot maximize to make the screens bigger, and then we will say driver dot manage dot timeouts dot implicit wait duration of seconds, let's say 10 seconds. In this statement, just we are trying to wait for each action 10 seconds. Within 10 seconds, it's executed, it's okay. It's not executed, we will wait for 10 seconds. The best practice, it depends on the websites. So let's say we have a website for the payments. So you need to set not 10 seconds, you need to set 3 seconds as a max, because the payments, it's a risky thing. So you need to make sure that you are setting the best wait for your website. And then we will say driver.get and the website. This is the URL of our website. So we will set it here. Okay, so before the method, what we are doing, just we are creating a new driver. The type of the driver will be Chrome driver, and we are managing the screen to be maximized. Then we are setting our implicit wait, and then we are visiting the website that we are working on. It's sozdaemo.com. Okay, after each method, what we need to do, after method, public void after method. We will say driver.quit. And in this statement, we are just quitting from the driver after each method. So we need to initialize it before each method and quit from the driver after each method. Why we are doing that? Because if we keep this session alive, you will be logged in, and in the next test case, maybe you will have some failures. So you need to, after each method, to quit, and before each method to start from scratch, and this will make your test clean. Now we will go to the other class, and the other class will be the all screens handler. All screens handler. In this class, just we will have the methods will retrieve the objects from the classes for the screens classes. So just we will say public login screen get login screen. And what we need to do, we need to return new login screen. And we are sending 2 parameters to the login screen, if you remember. The first one, the driver, and the second one, the locator screen. And what we will do now, we will say driver. Okay, so the driver is filled now, and we have an issue. Why? Because we need to import it from the base. So how we can do that? You can say import static constant from the base class. So you can just click on this, it will be imported. And then the second one will be new login screen locators. Using this method, just we are creating a new object from the login screen, and we can use it in the test class. We will see what is the relation between the test class and all screen handler. By the way, the test classes, all the test classes will be extends from the base, because the test classes will be execute something before and something after and during. So let's move to the other part. Now we will create a new package, and this package will be called com.sqa.tests, and the class inside this package will be called login tests. First of all, you need to make this class extends from the base to execute some functionality before and some functionality after. So we will say extends from the base class. Okay, now we can create our test, and we can pass the username and the password for the login screen. We will say @test and public void login to Sozdaemo. In this method, how we can call the all screens handler? We need to work on the login screen. Do you think that will be better to say like this, login screen equal new login screen, and every single time you need to pass the driver and new login screen locators and so on. So if you are using the login screen on all of the test classes, you will have to create the object for every time. To prevent this issue and to follow the dry principle that we are talking in the slides, you can remove this one, and in the basic class, by simple way, you can say public all screens handler equal new all screens handler. And if I want to use any screen, simply I can go to login test and say all screens handler dot get login screen. So this will be better because I have a common, have all the objects from the classes, from the screens, and I can call it using the object I have in the base class. So let's sort the things. The first thing, we are creating the object from the all screens in the base class, and we are call this object in the test class to follow the try principle. So there is no need to recreate the object for every single test, and this will make your code clean. And now we can say login to system. We have two parameters to pass, the username and the password. We will get it from the website, standard username, and then secret.sauce. Okay, so let's try first of all to log in manually to make sure everything is okay. We don't need this one. Okay, so we are logged in successfully, and now we will check the header. We will check just if we have this header or not. Okay. Just I will add the inside the login. Yes, to have it there, that will be better. We will have another package called home screen, and I will create home screen locators, and I will say add find by ID. This is the value of web element header, and I will generate a getter for this one. Okay, and then I will create a new class that will be called home screen, and same steps, home screen, we will receive web driver and home screen locators, and then we need to create an empty package, let's say empty object, and then we will say this dot home screen locators equal home screen locators, and you need to initialize your elements, sending the driver and home page locators. Now we will say public void boolean check if header displayed, and you need to return home.get header.isDisplayed. And now we need to add it in the all pages, all screens handler. We can say public home screen get home screen. We will return new home screen, sending the driver and new home screen locators. And after logged in successfully in the login test, we need to call our assertion. So our assertion will be assert true all pages handler, all screens handler dot get home screen dot check if the header is displayed. In this assertion, just we are making sure if the header is exist or no. Now we will just make sure everything is okay in our project. Yes, what we need to run, we need to just click on the add configuration. Our run will be using test ng, and on which level we need to run. We need to run on the method level. We need to choose the class, login test, and the method, login test source demo, and make sure that you are selecting the test in the use class path of module. Everything is okay. We will name it by SQA and click on OK. Now we can run it. Just one step we need to make sure. We need to make sure that we're adding the Chrome driver in the project. We don't have the Chrome driver in this project. Let me copy it from my desktop. This is the Chrome driver, and we can copy it there. Okay, so now everything is okay. And yes, and now just I can click on run to make sure. Okay, so now we can run it. Sorry for that, guys. Yeah, allow access. Okay. Now if you see, we will run it again because it's so fast. Let's back. It will log in and check if the header is exist. But to make sure that our test is working fine, just let's set thread.sleep just to see if the test is passed or not. So I will say thread.sleep. Let's say 5 seconds just to make sure, and we will route then try catch. Okay. So now you can see our code is working fine, and we are doing our assertion when we are logged in to the system. So using this block of code, you are doing your login, sending the username and the password, and you are check if the header is displayed or not. Okay, for every single statement you will say assert.assert true or assert.assert equal or assert.assert false and so on. So this will be not a good thing to call the class every single time. So how we can do a small step to just call assert true without assert dot. So simply we will go to the import of the org.stng.assert, and we will make it static like this. You can say static, and after the assert.star. And when you are using it as a static, you will see that an error in the assert, so you can remove it, and we can call assert true directly without using the assert.assert true. So we are importing the assert class as a static, and then we are getting all the classes. We have an access on all methods in the assert class. So in the presentation, let's back there. The task will be to, after log into the system, you need to assert, you need to add 2 items to the cart after you are logged in, and you need to make sure that if the cart is the basket have 2 items by just checking the number is 2. And let's back to the website. Let's make it manually. Okay. Just need to do this, add to cart, and make sure that the number is 2 in the basket. And for the guys not follow me by writing the code, you can scan this code. You will see a repo on GitHub on the step that we are stopping on. So we are stopped on the step by logged in using username and password, and just you need to create the home screen class and home screen locators class, and to initialize the elements, and then you can execute your functionality and do your test class. So now we can have a break.
Yes, I think we will do a break, but first of all, folks, if you have any questions, please ask them now, and then we'll have a break, and then we will be back. Mm-hmm. And you will be able to do your task and get the consultation from the Bilal. So, folks, any questions? This is impossible. Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Just a quick question. When you were showing us that you extended some child class from the base class, do you think would it be better to use composition instead of inheritance in this case? Because you know not every child class needs access to, for example, login.
Yeah, in our example, in the login test, why we extend the test classes only from the base class? Because just the test classes will have the annotation that's called test, add test, if you see this. So this annotation will work, depends on before what and after what. So that's why we are just extends the test classes from the base, not all the classes, only the test classes. And that's why this is the reason that we are extends from the base class. Yeah. Go ahead.
1 second, please.
1 second.
I would like to ask about reporters. What kind of reporters do you use? Can we add any of them?
Yeah, we can add some of reports in the automation framework. We have a lot of examples, like one of the most, I think, Allure report or extent report, and you can use the default test ng report, and it will be without any effort to see the test ng emailable report. You can see it, but in this example, you can just follow the emailable report that we have in the test ng, and if you want to add another report, we can. Like in offline, we can talk about the extent reports and the Allure reports and the other reports. And by the way, you can connect your any automation framework, not only this one, to other tools. Like there is a reporting system for Cucumber Studio, it's for Jira and so on. So you can connect with the reporting systems. So in this case, just we are using test ng report. It's the default one without any effort from our staff. Yeah.
Let me ask one question.
Yeah.
Bilal, how do you think when newbie start their own testing project, should they follow all the strict rules that you have described, or should they have several test projects like pet projects and only then move to the actual production? So like, I will clarify what I mean. I mean that sometimes we face the situation when we have a big project and it's written badly, like really bad. So would it be better to train on something like Playground and only then move to the actual coding, or like just follow the principles that you have described and start straight ahead?
Yeah, using this structure, you can handle big projects. It's not a problem, and you have to do for sure some enhancements. And if you are going to automate, like when you're automating one test case, it's not like when you automate 500 or 1,000 test cases. So you can separate your project to subfolders. So if you see in the structure and in the practice in the structure that we have in the project, just we are creating a package for each screen and class for each screen, locators for each screen, so you can follow these steps and you can make sure that everything will be okay with you. It's not a big problem. Yeah, it will work for the big projects and small projects for sure. Any other questions?
Okay.
Maybe after the break.
Yes, maybe new questions will come after the break. So Bilal, could you please turn the slide with the QR code to the repo?
Yeah, sure.
So I will kindly remind you that the second part is home task for you. It's like task what you will do here. So you can clone the repo. You can, if you have missed some lines or so on, and you will get the point where Bilal is currently on, and have ability to do a task by yourself, and Bilal and me, probably if you need it, will help you doing it. So your experience will be the best, not just listen, but to have a practice. So at the second part, we are waiting for you to have a practice. Don't be afraid, and see you in 10 minutes.
Yeah, thank you.